Kate Milfalcha, welcome to Irish Granny Helen, and welcome to Debbra Lupien, the voice of the AKASHIC records. Hello. Hi. Thank you, Deborah, for doing this. This is exciting.
Yeah.
Are you really into Barbara Stanwyck?
I love Barbara, yes.
What's your favorite movie she did?
There are so many. I don't know. The one with Fred McMurray, where they did the insurance fraud. That one is
Double Indemnity, one of the best movies ever made. Yeah. Love that movie. Oh my God, it is.
But
so
also
good.
The one where she was a young girl and her father, I think, was abusive, and she ended up going out on the street. I forget what all the details, but that was
a girl's
good.
Name. Yeah, that one I wasn't crazy about. But I know what you mean. It starts out with somebody else playing her as a child, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I just couldn't get into it. Have you ever seen Christmas in Connecticut?
It sounds familiar. Did that have that famous guy with the big beard who was kind of robust? Was he in that?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
She's a journalist. She writes for a ladies' magazine, and she is this fake persona. She's like what's a Martha Stewart? Except that she's married and has children and a fancy house in the country and this ideal life, and she's a wonderful cook and she sews her own clothes, the whole ridiculous story. Except she lives in a one-room apartment in a walk-up in downtown Manhattan and is single and can't thread a needle and can't cook a thing. And so it's coming on to Christmas time, and her boss is struggling with the publisher to get enough money to keep the magazine going. And so the big guy with the money says, my wife loves your column. I love your column. I want to come to your house at Christmas and watch you do the whole Christmas thing. And so the only way they can save the magazine, if she pretends to be who she's been pretending to be in print, except she's not that person at all. And it's a comedy of errors, and it is hilarious for somebody who can be as cold and calculating as the woman in Double Indemnity. She is such a good comedian in this other movie. It's wonderful. And then she did that what's the name of the movie where the Lady Eve, where she's on the ship? Preston Sturges was the guy who made the movie. She falls in love with, she's trying to con Henry Fonda, I think. A young Henry Fonda. And it's all about, it's another kind of comedy of errors. The con gets kind of conned, it's very good. She did such a variety of movies.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
She was a huge talent.
Yeah. A lot of people really liked, what's the one where they have dinner? Betty Davis is in it. I'm pretty sure she's in it. Barbara Stanwyck is in it. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, I'm thinking of the one that has Ann Baxter in it. Ann Baxter, Marilyn Monroe.
The Three Faces of Eve. Yeah, she wasn't in that one.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, she was in The Lady Eve, which is a comedy. So, okay, enough of me completely destroying Barbara Stanwyck's list of movies. Let's ask some questions here. So these questions are all for her, all of them. So the first one I have was for her to talk about her childhood memories, and actually what happened to her explains a lot about how she turned out as an adult. When she was about 4, she was with her mother and her little brother. They were on a trolley car, like a tram type thing. And her mother was very pregnant and lost her balance and fell backwards out of the trolley and died.
Oh my gosh.
So let's start on that happy note. I'm just curious, how much of that does she remember? Does she remember earlier than that?
Okay, so Barbara Stanwyck, can we have a conversation with you? Helen and I are big fans. We'd like to hear all about you. So can you tell us about your childhood? What's your earlier memories? Your mother dying? She's saying that was very painful for her because she was so young and it was devastating. So she kind of blocked a lot of it out and doesn't have a lot of memories of early childhood. Feels like whatever situation she ended up in was not a wholesome, nurturing environment, and it was a pretty hard scrabble life.
Yeah, her father abandoned them immediately, and she was separated from her little brother that she was close to. I don't remember. Does she remember who she ended up living with?
So, can you tell us who you lived with? It was an aunt figure. I don't know if it was a biological aunt, but she's expressing it like an aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody who wasn't really happy to have the burden. It was a burden. So she had to do a lot of work to help out, to
She kind of
stretch.
raised herself without any kind of nurturing.
The picture I'm getting is like somebody who runs a boarding house situation.
Who did what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Like the woman she lived with had like a boarding house situation.
Oh, okay.
And so she had to work.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yep. I'm getting an echo. There's a place here that we can change the settings for the sound to
I'm not
cancel
hearing anything.
Yeah.
No echo.
Okay. I changed it. We'll see if it's better.
You sound a lot quieter now.
Yeah?
Your volume went way down.
Okay, I'll turn it up then.
I'll probably be bellowing. So I thought this was really interesting, and it's been a couple of months since I read all this stuff. And I typed it in, but I'm a really bad typist. And I typed a number, except that I didn't type a number. I typed half of a parentheses. So I can't ask the question correctly. My question was, she started smoking cigarettes when she was really young. I want to say, I think it's 9. I think that's the key that has the parentheses on it.
Yes, it is.
So how old was she when she started smoking? And is that true? And why did they let her do that? Oh my God.
So, Barbara, is it true that you started smoking cigarettes at 9? Yes. Yes. She was rebellious because, she was resentful about the way she was brought up and, of course, not having her mother. And it was her way of taking back a little bit of control in her life, that she could say, this is a choice I'm making.
9 years old. So she left school when she was 14. She never went to high school at all. And I was just wondering, was that a huge hampering in her life, or was that more common in those days?
So, Barbara, were you hampered by not going to high school? Or was that something that a lot of people did? Yeah, it was hard times. You'd be surprised how many people had to drop out of school to help support themselves and their families. So it wasn't all that unusual. Sure, it would have been nice if I'd had more education, but I was able to educate myself later on. And it was something that I actually put effort into and enjoyed learning new things. So it was a temporary setback for me, but not a lifetime setback.
It was possible to get a job without a high school education in those days. So, which is really hard for us to understand, right? So she got pregnant at 15. Is she willing to talk about that?
So, Barbara, would you talk about being pregnant at 15? That was unfortunate. It could have been a real problem for me, but I was able to overcome it. So are you saying you aborted the baby? That's what I'm getting, that somehow she took care of it.
Yeah, would she be willing to talk about that? Because I'm sure she's aware that we're having a huge backsliding in availability of that kind of medical care for women. And maybe it would be beneficial for us to hear what it was like before abortion was legal. Because no judgment here.
Yeah. So, Barbara, could you talk a little bit about that? Because in the present, abortion is on the chopping block, and it's become harder to get. So what was it like for you in your time? The women knew about it. They shared it. So if you wanted to find out, you could find out, and they would send you to someone. And it's not like the butchery that happened later when you had to go to back alleys and deal with somebody who was unscrupulous and might kill you. It was actually handled by the women. They had methods. They shared them. They helped one another. And so it was actually safer than what it was for those poor girls who had to use the coat hangers. We didn't do that. We had support.
You know, similar situation existed during colonial times. It wasn't against the law, and it was available through midwives or, you know, whatever. So, so I have a real interest in this next question. So when she was 16, she joined Ziegfeld, the Ziegfeld Follies. And he had a whole thing. He owned the Amsterdam Theater on Broadway. And upstairs on the roof, he had a nightclub. And it was an after-hours nightclub for gentlemen. And a lot of the young women who performed in the Ziegfeld Follies performed with fewer costumes on the roof. So that's, you know, that would be interesting to hear about. But I have a second question. But let's first hear about that. So did she perform up there on the roof, and what was that like?
So, Barbara, when you're with the Ziegfeld Follies, did you participate in the parties on the roof? Sure, I did. It was a way to get ahead. It was a way to capture the attention of somebody influential who could help you along, or maybe somebody who would just slip you an extra $5 now and then.
So she was treated well by these men.
Would you say you were treated well by these men? Oh, it was very different than it is now. They were holding to a standard. Yes, they wanted to have their jollies, but they were mostly gentlemen. There were a few jerks, but most of them were decent.
Okay, this is my favorite question. So there's a silent film star who died tragically. She was married to Jack Pickford, Mary Pickford's brother. And he was a ne'er-do-well. He was a scoundrel. He slept around. He was riddled with venereal diseases. He was an alcoholic. He probably did drugs. He was not a good person. And they had a very troubled, tumultuous relationship. And they took a cruise. Well, they went from New York to England, maybe France, to try to mend things. And on the ship over, the story goes, she got up in the middle of the night to take like headache powders or something for like a hangover or a headache or whatever. And in the dark, she accidentally took his topical medication for syphilis. He had sores. Yeah. And it was poison, and she died. She lingered for a few days, and she died. She was the most beautiful, fabulous silent film star. It was just this enormous tragedy. She was the first flapper, even though she doesn't get credit for it. Colleen Moore was in the movie The Flapper, and she got credit for it. But Olive Thomas was the first one to do the whole flapper thing. So here's the question. According to a lot of people, Olive Thomas's ghost haunts the New Amsterdam. She was in the Ziegfeld Follies. She performed at that theater and had a real fondness for it. She was discovered by Ziegfeld. I think she was working behind the counter at Five and Dime, you know. And her ghost haunts the theater. And so there was this janitor who got a job and was working nights, and he was told on his first night, we'll lock you in. You'll be fine. You're the only one in the building. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. So the next morning they come and how did things go? And he says, well, you know, everything was fine, but you told me nobody would be here. Who was the woman who walked through the theater about 3 o'clock in the morning? I was cleaning and I look up and she's just walking down the aisle, looked perfectly normal, you know, and she waved and smiled and went up on the stage and went behind the curtains. And I don't know where she went. Who was that? And the guy says, oh, you met Olive. So this is a common story. Did Barbara Stanwyck know that? And did she ever encounter Olive Thomas's ghost?
Okay, so Barbara, did you know the story of Olive Thomas haunting the Amsterdam? Oh, sure, everybody knew. And did you personally encounter her ghost? I don't know that I could say I encountered her ghost, but there were a few times I caught something out of the corner of my eye that it felt to me was her, but I can't say for sure.
That's actually how some ghosts manifest. I've had that experience. And it's very odd because you keep thinking, what was that? We thought our kids were up after hours, you know, toying with us, hiding behind the furniture, my husband and I. And we were at a friend's house babysitting. And I kept saying to him, go see if those kids are up again. And he'd go look and he'd come back and they're sound asleep. They're snoring. So my friend came back home and I said to her, do you know you have a ghost? And her answer was, oh, thank God. I thought I was losing my mind. I'm so grateful somebody else saw it.
Wow.
The 3 of us saw it. And it was as real as can be. It was like, who was that? You know, what was that? You know, it was just.
And did you find out who it was?
No. But about 2 weeks later, we were sitting in her living room and her sister was from out of town. And I was sitting by myself on two sofas facing, and I was by myself and they were across from me. And I was telling her sister the story. And as I talked about it, this whole side where the chair was empty, where the sofa was empty, got ice cold. I mean, my arm, it was, and I turned and I said, you're going to have to leave because you're scaring me. And it went back to normal room temperature. And they felt my arm. My arm was ice cold. So, okay. Whoever it was a very cooperative ghost. Anyway.
Yeah.
So she made a lot of pre-code movies before they came down with all the morality and the nonsense, you know? And I wonder what was her opinion about the pre-code movies, and did she think that the code was ridiculous?
So, Barbara, what did you think about the code in Hollywood? Yeah, ridiculous is one way to describe it. They were trying to put the lid on our creativity, make us conform to their puritanical standards. I was very much opposed to it. I thought that it limited our ability to bring the best that we had to our audience.
Did she ever meet Will Hayes in person?
Barbara, did you meet Will Hayes in person? Yes.
Was he as much of a prig as I think he was?
How would you characterize him?
That's a nice way to ask.
He was kind of a rough and tumble guy. He was okay, not one of my favorite people.
She's so diplomatic. So what silent or early talkie film stars did you meet that you really, really liked or really disliked? Who made an impression on you?
So from the silent film era, could you give us some names of people who made an impression on you, whether it be positive or negative? Billy Wilder, was he in the silent film days?
Yeah, he was a director early on. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first name. So who else? And did you like Billy? Yeah, he was fun. He was creative.
Yeah.
So who else? Ethel Barrymore. She was the bomb.
Really?
She liked her. Yeah. I guess, they both had a lot of moxie and a certain level of professionalism. So she related to that. So who else? Well, I can't say the same about her brother, but I liked Ethel.
I'm not surprised. What about Cary Grant?
Barbara, did you know Cary Grant? What did you think of him? Smooth. Very smooth. But underneath all of that, he was really an insecure guy. It was very sweet when he let you see that side of himself. And he didn't let many people see it, but he and I were sort of friends, and he showed me that side.
Well, here's a question. I'm going to be intrusive. Rumor has it, and I believe it, that he was at least bi, if not gay. What did you think about that?
So, Barbara, could you comment on his sexuality? I would say he was open-minded, and it didn't bother me a bit.
No, I don't care from that point of view. I'm just curious because rumor has it that he lived in New York when, the movie business was on the East Coast. And when he was quite young, he lived in New York, and he lived with, I want to get this name right so I don't, offend anybody. He lived with Randolph Scott in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And they kind of had to split it up when they came west to make the movies, But there was always this sort of undercurrent about, because people were so, how people are.
Yeah.
Stupid. Who cares? He was beautiful, so who cares? Let's see, I can't read here. I know she probably got asked this a million times, but of all the movies that she made, what was she the most proud of?
So, Barbara, which of your movies were you the most proud of? She's not giving me a name.
She can't decide.
Any?
Can't choose.
What's that?
She can't choose.
It's just everything went quiet. There's nothing. It's like she's thinking about it. So is there anything that you want to highlight? Any that stood out for you? It's like children. You can't pick a favorite.
Sure you can. How much of a struggle was it, especially as a woman, to stay independent in the studio system?
So can you comment on what it was like being an independent woman in the studio system? You had to learn real early how to block, to raise a leg, use an elbow, maybe turn. There were traps everywhere. So a girl had to be nimble on her feet, always eyes in the back of your head, moving quickly to keep yourself in a place of empowerment and safety. And you couldn't always do it. Sometimes they got you.
Well, I actually
worth the effort.
I wasn't actually thinking about the physical stuff. I was thinking of having agency over your own career and autonomy about what movies you made and didn't make, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Control.
well, it ties in, because she's saying if you were able to stay out of those traps, then you had more agency, because once they trapped you and put you in a compromising situation, they have the power, the leverage.
Hold it over your head. That's horrible.
Yeah.
So earlier on, she had a relationship with a guy called Rex Cherryman, but he was married. And he died tragically. Can she talk about that relationship and what happened to him?
So, Barbara, can you tell us about Rex Cherryman? He was a very sweet guy. I don't know that I would say I was really in love with him, but we had a good time together. And I was sad when he passed on.
What happened to him? I don't remember. It's been a
Yeah.
while
So
since I read it.
Yeah, can you tell us what happened to him? How did he die? She's saying it was a tragic accident. Was it a car accident? Yeah, I'm seeing a car accident. Like, you know, in those Hollywood movies where the car goes around the curve and goes off the cliff.
Yeah, that's awful. So then she had this relationship long with Frank Fay, and they got married. Frank Fay, does that ring a bell?
No.
Okay, so the gossip is that their marriage was actually the dialogue, provided the dialogue for the movie A Star is Born, because they had that kind of a tumultuous relationship and he was an alcoholic. Can she talk about that?
So, Barbara, is it true that your relationship with Frank Fay was the basis for the movie A Star is Born? No, that's Hollywood gossip. We had our ups and downs, and yeah, I would say it was a volatile relationship, but we were certainly not star-crossed lovers, and our situation was quite different.
For him, it was alcohol with him, right?
Was his problem alcohol? Yeah, he had an alcohol issue, but there were other things with him, and something with finance. Gambler. He was a gambler.
Oh, no. So, okay, this next question, I want to make it really clear that I don't really care and I'm not judging. I'm just interested in the relationships that went on in Hollywood, and a lot of the hypocrisy of the system is really interesting to me. I don't think that the people within the system had a lot of say about how open they were about their lives. I think a lot of it was manufactured and controlled by the system. So no shade, no judgment. But rumor has it that she was involved sexually with Joan Crawford, that actually Barbara was bi and had a lengthy relationship with Joan Crawford. Is that true?
So, Barbara, is it true that you had a romantic relationship with Joan Crawford? She just laughed. Oh, she says it's nobody's business.
Well, that's true, but you can't blame us for being curious.
Well,
or
we
I
can
think
ask
another
again.
Word, okay. You could say
So-
nosy. That's okay.
Yeah. So, Barbara, given that it's been many years and you're no longer in this life, would you tell us whether you were bi? We didn't call it that back then, but I wasn't exclusively hetero.
Which I'm sure she must know that most normal people don't care anymore. It's only the religious freaks who judge, and nobody cares about that kind of stuff anymore. She, nothing to be reluctant to talk about. So then she was in a relationship.
She just said, Helen, are you out of your mind? Have you looked around at how a certain faction is vilifying people who are not straight?
Yeah, but they're the nuts. Those are the religious nuts. They're all going to go to hell.
Yeah, but she's saying, I've got a legacy. She's still concerned about her legacy.
Well, I think it would be good to tell her that there is now a large portion of society for whom that would almost be, it would be a positive and not a negative. It wouldn't be a source of negative judgment. Mm-hmm. People are more accepting than they used to be. Yeah. The people that are nasty about it are the minority. They're just louder than everybody else.
Yeah.
Especially in Hollywood.
She did confirm that she was not exclusively heterosexual. So, there's that, but that's really all she wants to say.
Does she realize that things have changed pretty dramatically in Hollywood? It's not secretive like that anymore. Not really. I don't think it is. Maybe I'm living in a dream world, but I kind of thought that people were more frank about things like that. I don't know.
Well, maybe, but she's feeling protective of her legacy. That's a really important thing to her. So it's not a topic she wants to dive into.
Right. Well, I'm not going to force it or anything. Oh, well, that kind of wrecks my next question.
Well, you can still ask.
Okay, so she had I forget if it was a publicist or a public relations person or a secretary. She had a woman whose name was Helen Ferguson, like her first name, with whom she lived for a really long time. And they called it was referred to as a Boston marriage. Does that ring a bell, that term? I've heard it before. It's like you hear about spinsters who live together. Yeah, there we go.
So, Barbara, could you comment on your relationship with Helen Ferguson? They were very comfortable with each other. It was like that comfortable old coat that you slip on when you're cold and you need a little reassurance and your life is out of whack and you want to get back. So that was a very deep, caring relationship. And yes, it was romantic.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, everybody needs that kind of support. And, so I thought it was really interesting. This is delicate. She was known to be pretty politically conservative, like very politically conservative. And I'm curious what she thinks about the division along ideological lines that's going on today. And how does she think she would align if she were alive today?
So, Barbara, given that you're aware, hopefully, of the political situation in the world today, would you still be a conservative in today's America? Hell no, wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Those people are crazy.
Wow.
No, she would probably be more of a libertarian in today's parlance.
Wow.
She believes in freedom.
Makes me feel better because I absolutely love her whole, I admire her resilience. She had a hard beginning, and it's remarkable to me that she was capable of getting herself where she ended up. And she had such a work ethic, and she was considered a really nice person by the stage crew and, the people that matter. She didn't kiss up to the egos. She was nice to ordinary people, and she was genuinely a good person. And so when I was really disappointed when I found out that she was just a staunch conservative Republican, and I thought, oh my God, no, don't ruin my image of her. So I'm glad to hear that. So finally, this is probably my last question. What does she think the direction that movies have taken today, and what does she like and what does she dislike as far as actors and movies? I mean, I'm sure she'd pay attention to that.
Yeah. So, Barbara, what do you think about the Hollywood scene today? The kind of movies that are coming out? Anything that stands out to you that you'd like to mention? She's a big fan of the special effects, the things that they can do that they only dreamed about in her time. She's mentioning especially, oh gosh, what was the name of that movie that James Cameron did with the blue people? That one.
Oh, I don't know.
The blue
If it
people
involved blue people, I don't think I saw it.
Well, it was like an alien race of these blue
Yeah, I
people,
didn't
and
see it.
they rode these big flying birds, and it was
Yeah, I
a
didn't see
different
it.
culture. Yeah, it was Avatar.
So she likes fantasy.
Is that true, Barbara? You like fantasy? You might say that, but that particular movie, the special effects and the way it was portrayed, she really appreciated it. So, anything else? Anything else that stands out to you? Well, I miss the musicals. They don't
Me
make
too.
musicals like they used to.
What does she
Yeah,
think of
that's a
Jonathan
shame.
Groff? What does she think of?
So, Barbara, do you know Jonathan Groff's work on Broadway? Oh, sure. We enjoy him up here. He's a hoot.
See? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kate Blanchett reminds me of her in a way. Am I wrong in thinking that? She's so versatile. She's done
Yeah.
comedy. What does she think of her?
So, Barbara, are you familiar with Kate Blanchett's work? Yeah, Helen is spot on. She is so talented and has such integrity. I really respect the work that she puts out in the world and the care that she brings to each of her roles. That's fine.
I saw her in a movie. She's my favorite actress living, right? And I saw her in a movie, and it wasn't until the movie was over and the credits came up and I saw her name, and I asked my husband, who does she play? She was the main female character, and she's such a chameleon. I didn't even recognize her. She was in a movie called Pushing Tin with John Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton, and it's probably 25 years old now. They're air traffic controllers. That's what Pushing Tin is when you get the airplanes going. Yeah. I'll never forget how shocked I was that it was Kate Blanchett. And the same with that movie, Don't Look Up.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was real popular.
I remember, but I didn't see it.
Like the end of the world is coming, and
Yeah.
the advice is it's don't look up. So at the very last scene, she's sitting at a bar with people, and she'd been in the movie throughout the movie. But that's the moment that I remember her for sure being in, and I didn't know it was Kate Blanchett until the credits came up. That's a good actress.
Yeah.
Because she's like a chameleon. So Barbara has wonderful taste. Who does she think's a good male actor?
So, Barbara, any male actors today that stand out to you? Liam Neeson. She likes his work.
My fellow countryman. I have a brother named Liam, and when we were growing up, you never heard that name. And he endured 18 years of torture growing up. People making fun of his name, people commenting on his name, people mispronouncing it and misspelling it. It was just a nightmare. I felt sorry for him. Now, all of a sudden, it is the most popular boy's name. Yeah. How weird is that? It's crazy. It's just crazy.
It
So,
happens.
yeah. So, one more question. Ask her if she'll say hi to Robert Redford for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
So, Barbara, would you say hi to Robert Redford and tell him we miss him already, please? Yeah.
Is there anything we didn't ask that she'd like to say?
Great. Yeah. Anything that you would like to share with us that we didn't ask you? Yeah, I think I'd like to tell you all to stop being so hard on yourselves, to relax and enjoy your lives a little more. Don't take everything so seriously. It will be all right. You will come through. You always do. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
I hope.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. That was interesting, huh? Wasn't that interesting?
I like her energy. It's nice. She's still a little reserved. Very interesting.
People from different time periods, there's
Yeah.
an expectation. But I had read that she was just beloved by people who worked with her. She did not have that big ego thing going on. She was a human being. And you have to admire that, because it's hard to be the center of attention and then you become famous, which I think is a curse, and still be a decent human being. That's not easy.
Yeah. Well, being famous back then was a little different because they had more boundaries in place, and she had good boundaries. That was one thing about her that was impressive.
Oh, we'd cure her of that if we spent some time with her. We'd get her to talk. No, I'm really impressed. That was so interesting. And I've been trying to catch up on old movies. And I tried to watch that one you mentioned about the little girl. She runs away from home, right? And then Barbara Stanwyck is her as an adult. It's a girl's name.
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
Marjorie, or I can't remember the name of it.
Ruby. Is it Ruby?
Well,
I think it's Ruby.
Maybe we're thinking about two different movies.
Maybe.
Yeah. She made so many. Well, I think we've exhausted you.
The interesting thing, I just had a flash of it. I think her father tried to, assault her. I had this scene in my head of him chasing her around the table. And that's when she left home.
It's a safe bet that that happened more often than not.
Yeah.
To young women. Yeah. He was kind of a ne'er-do-well, and when her mother died, he just sort of abandoned the family. I think she had an older sister who was in the chorus or something I hope I'm not confusing her with somebody else. I've been doing a lot of reading about different stars, but I think she paired up with her sister when she got out of the house. But I think he might have been gone, but he could have come back, because if she's living with an aunt, very probably his relatives, right? Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about the movie.
Oh, I thought you meant in real life.
No, in the movie, I had that picture of the guy chasing her around the table. I don't know about in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. And she was very young when her father left, but like I said, she was living with relatives, so who knows who was in and out of the house. It was,
but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it was an unstable situation for children in those days. If you didn't have, close monitoring, it was dangerous to be a little girl, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. But she lived a good long life. She was productive. She lived on her own terms, and nothing to sneeze at.
You notice I didn't ask her about that Western she did on television.
I liked that show. Big Valley. Yeah.
I didn't like it. I like the old stuff.
But I met her through Big Valley, and then I went back and saw her movies.
Oh, I was the wrong age. When that came out, it was what, the early 70s?
Late 60s, early 70s, yeah.
Yeah, I was off in school and then didn't have a television, and I just wasn't in tune to that. I mean, I knew what it was, but
Yeah.
she was a little too hardcore, and at that age that wasn't attractive to me. You know, we were all trying to be like Twiggy. And see how successful that was. Well, Deborah, thank you very much. I always feel like I
You're welcome.
exhaust you.
No.
Okay.
No, I love chatting with the dead. It's always so fascinating what they come up with.
Well, that's why we get along so well right now. So I had a scheduled conversation with Sarah Jordan Heinz, who wrote the book about Dorothy Kilgallen. She and I were thinking we would do kind of a regular thing about old movies because we're both really into old movies. And I had this scheduled with you, and I had a conversation scheduled with her, and she got COVID, and her husband got COVID, and her whole family, everybody had COVID. So she's been kind of out of everything. And then our schedule got messed up. And so my timing is a bit off, but I'm going to put this out anyway. But Sarah and I are getting together here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to start trying to be more regular about it. But it's hard because she works and she has a baby. And when you have children, you can't predict anything. So I'm flexible. What do I have to do? So we'll get together again soon. And if people have any requests, let us know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing Sarah. I love that old Hollywood stuff.
So much fun. So interesting. Yeah. If you have any good ideas of somebody that we can look into, she's kind of on the same, wavelength as you and I, as far as like what she likes and what she's interested in. But I want to solve some Hollywood deaths. We're gonna do that.
There's lots of them.
Yeah, there's some I've been very interested in since for decades. So I'm excited to look into them. I won't say what. We'll get to it. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
So long, foil.